space has many things going against it that make it very, very difficult for me to imagine a productive data center in space. So I'm going to, I think, take the, let's say, devil's advocate position here. And I invite the two of you to maybe help me to understand where I'm getting this wrong. So Ray, I want to go to you first because, well, I like you better. So tell me,
oh, look at the time.
How wrong am I about data centers in space?
You're completely wrong about data centers in space. The question is how much it costs to launch this stuff. Once it's there, it'll operate fairly reasonably for 3, 4, 5 years, depending on orbit and all that stuff. And the costs in space are relatively, all amortized over the cost of the launch and the production of the electronics. Can it operate in space? Yes. Is it going to be a little slower? Yeah, maybe 2 milliseconds slower on the way up and the way down. But that's not a big deal when you're talking to a prompt machine. It takes 10 seconds to come back with I'm thinking about this now. Here,
so wait, so there, you've mentioned a couple of things, and I'm just going to put a flag up, a little bookmark here. So you've mentioned launch costs.
Yes.
You've mentioned communications latency.
Yes.
Let's see. Are those the two things you've mentioned so far?
Those are the two things I mentioned.
Okay.
The mass, you have to put up there, et cetera, et cetera. And the question is how the lifetime of those sorts of things.
Reliability.
Today,
okay, there's a third one.
Yeah. Data centers today, we replace stuff every 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the stuff. And so those data centers in space are going to have to be replaced every 3 or 4 or 5 years as well.
Scott?
So maybe I'll take the softer intro and say to my good colleague from Ohio, Mr. Foskett, and say, there are issues and you're right to acknowledge them, right? And Ray has touched on them in certain ways here, right? I think about it in terms of power, cooling, and radiation, right? Launch cost is obviously an issue, but power, okay, can I get abundant solar? I have access to solar, but I still have to do special things to have really big arrays and keep them pointing in the right direction at the sun. So, there are physics and challenges there. For all the power that's consumed, generated and consumed, heat needs to be removed. And I don't have convective or conductive cooling in space. So I need to work out, big thin radiators, right? And they need to be pointed away from the sun. But, these are engineering issues, right? Where cost is going to be, the issue. The radiation factor here, it does degrade the solar panels and silicon in general. But to Ray's point, we're not really going to replace them. We're just going to let them degrade and die out and throw new stuff up there. There's no truck rolls in space.
I just want to put my bookmarks up here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've heard now
bookmark?
Launch costs, communication latency and bandwidth, reliability and servicing, radiation, which I'm going to include as a separate topic, power, and then I'm going to include cooling as a separate topic too, just because of the nature of space. Okay, keep going. Keep going.
These all these items that you're talking about definitely matter, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, this is the engineering answer. Everything's a trade-off, right? And the harder it gets to build new data centers on the surface of the planet, the more attractive other places will be.